Today we're making a Portuguese-style stew called Alcatra.
Now, Alcatra is Portuguese for rump or round, and that's exactly where we're starting today, talking all about the different types of meat that we tried in our stew. Now, first up, again, we tried the rump roast, often known as bottom round. Rump roast or round roast, just too dry, a little bit livery in taste. So we set that aside and we went to our classic, the one that we love the most for stewing and braising, that is chuck roast. Yeah, we love this type of meat. It's got great flavor, a lot of marbling in there, so as it cooks, it gets super tender. It was a little bit too fatty for our stew. We want this stew to also be incredibly simple. So we found a few recipes for Alcatra that actually used shanks. This is a beef shank. Obviously, this is long cut because you can see the long bone down one side, and this had great flavor. So it had the flavor of the chuck, but it was a little bit leaner, so there wasn't as much fat at the very end.
And of course you have that marrow.
Oh, exactly. But we're actually using a boneless cut. Let me show you. So oftentimes, shanks are sold lengthwise or long cut. They can also be sold cross cut. Now, this isn't ideal for us because we want smaller pieces for our stew. Now, this is a piece of this long cut shank.
Oh,
right?
like that.
Exactly. It's made up of a whole bunch of different muscles around that center bone, and this is what you buy as a boneless long cut shank. All right, so if you want to bring that over. Now, we're using 3 pounds of boneless long cut shanks in our recipe. Now, I want to get any thick pieces of connective tissue off because these just will not melt away. So just take a boning knife and start whittling away. And this is a good opportunity if you see any big pockets of fat, good time to take that away too. But often the beauty of these boneless long cut shanks is there's not a lot of fat on the surface. It's really well marbled within. Now you see here, this really thin connective tissue is called silver skin. We can leave that on. But see right here where it's a little bit tougher, we want to get rid of that. All right, just a little trimming here of the end. I'm going to take a knife and we're going to cut this right across into about 2.5 inch pieces.
Nice big pieces.
So that when we cook them, they stay nice and juicy and moist. Now we want to season it with a little bit of salt. This is a teaspoon of just regular salt. I'll go ahead and sprinkle it all over. All right. Now what makes this stew so special, one of the aspects, is the profile of spices and herbs that we're going to use. And we're going to make a little spice bundle. It's going to be easy to take these in and out of the pot as we need. So this is a triple layer of cheesecloth, about an 8-inch square. I'm going to add 5 garlic cloves. We smash these. 5 allspice berries.
Interesting.
Very different profile. There's a couple of warm spices in this stew. These are 4 bay leaves and 1.5 teaspoons of black peppercorns. Always have to wrangle them because they want to go everywhere. All right, I'm going to tie this up into a tidy little bundle.
A little sachet.
Little sachet, yes. Make a nice little knot here. All right, done with the spices, onto the only vegetable we're using, and that is 2 onions, 2 yellow onions.
The only vegetable.
The only vegetable.
Yeah, I kind of like the stew.
Your kind of stew. So we're going to cut this right through the root. It makes it a little easier to peel these. I'm going to slice them thinly, and if you slice them pole to pole, that is root end to stem end, the onion pieces tend to stay together more than if you were to slice them across. So you're going to love this part, how easy it is to put this together. I'm going to scrape all these onions, scoop
Into
them
the
up,
cold pot.
into the cold
No
pot.
browning beef.
Not so far, that's right. At least not here on the stovetop.
Ooh, you've got my attention. Because usually when you make a beef stew, it follows the same method. You cut up the beef, you brown it in batches to get a fond, then you slowly saute the aromatics, build the stew, and put it in the oven. But this is not that kind of traditional stew.
This might be the easiest stew I've ever made. I'm gonna make a little divot right in the center, nestle that spice bundle right in there. It's so pretty.
It's like an onion bed.
It is. Shh, it's sleeping. All right, so now we're going to add our liquid right to the pot. We are not browning those onions. So I've got here a little bit of white wine.
Just a little.
Also known as 2 1/4 cups of dry white wine. This is the only liquid we're adding to the pot. There's no chicken broth, no beef broth, not even any water, so it's going to add great concentrated flavor.
Just right in the pot.
Right in the pot. We're not browning the wine. Now, here's one of those warm spices that I talked about earlier. We used allspice berries. Well, here we have a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Really nice warm flavor, especially with that white wine.
I've never seen a stew made like this before.
Blowing your mind.
Very cool.
Now I can bring the beef right back up. I'm gonna take these pieces of shank, put this right on top of the onions. Now this is the point where we would put this over high heat and let that liquid in the pot get really nice and bubbly before we move it to the oven. We're not even gonna do that. Gonna put a lid on.
You're breaking all the rules.
I'm crazy today. And this is going to go straight into that 325-degree oven. It's going to stay in there for a good long while until the beef is tender, and that's going to take about 3.5 hours. So now during that time, of course, the onions are going to release some of their liquid, as is the beef, but the onions are going to get a really deep, meaty flavor.
Ooh, I can smell it.
Oh yeah, you sure can.
Beef and warm spices.
A lot of flavor. All right, let's see what we shall uncover. Boom.
Oh, look, that part that was exposed, not submerged in liquid, browned naturally in the oven.
That's right.
The smell is amazing. It's beef, but it's white wine and perfume and some warm spices.
You know, it's odd to describe because it's complex, but it's really clean.
Yeah.
You're gonna find that when you taste it as well, but I wanna show how tender this beef is. I take a little paring knife, put it right in there, just comes right back out.
Ooh.
All right, that's how we know it's done. Now, a lot of recipes for Alcatra use bacon, and that's most American Portuguese versions. We found that it was just a little too smoky. So we're using chorizo. Now, there's a couple types of chorizo that you can find at the supermarket. Mexican style is great, but it tends to have a little bit of a vinegar flavor to it. Spanish style is already cured. It's got some smoked paprika in it, really complex flavor, and it's already cooked. We're simply gonna add it right near the end of cooking, and it's gonna soften on its own because it's pre-cooked. All right, so I've got 8 ounces of our Spanish chorizo, 1/4 inch thick. I'm gonna take a pair of tongs, flip over these beef pieces, and as I do, I want to cover up those pieces of chorizo, and this is going to allow the top of that beef to really get submerged into that liquid so that it's flavored as well, but also that chorizo is going to lend its flavor into that beautiful broth that we have at the bottom of the pot. This meat is almost falling apart. Good enough. Most of that chorizo is, you can't even see it, right? It's so well hidden with the beef. So there we go. So now, I'm gonna go ahead and put that lid back on. It's still hot. So I'm gonna leave a towel on it just to remind us that this is hot. And this is it. We're gonna leave this here just to sit here on the counter for 20 minutes. As it does, that hot broth is going to extract some of that chorizo flavor, but it's not going to overcook it as it would if we had stewed it all along. So 20 minutes and we're good to eat. All right, after a 20-minute rest, this should be still nice and hot. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that smells good.
Well, it's all the chorizo, the flavors of the chorizo have gone into the broth. Still get that cinnamon, beef. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna call this one done. Let me get you some of this beautiful
Now, the
stew.
sauce is on the thin side for a stew. It's almost more like a jus.
That's right. Bless you. Of course, a little bit extra for sopping up some.
I was gonna say, now I
some
see why
bread.
there's a little piece of bread out here. Oh, look at this meat. It just falls right apart. This meat has serious flavor. It has a beefy flavor with a clean finish.
And how easy was it? There's no browning. Just assemble it in the pot, put it in the oven, take it out, throw a few chorizo in there, and you're good to go.
Nice work, Bridget. This stew's amazing.
Thanks.
Alcatra is a simple, classic Portuguese beef stew that you're gonna fall for, just like we have. Start with beef shank, a lean, collagen-rich cut that stays moist and gives the sauce great body. Submerge the sliced onions in the liquid to form a meaty-tasting compound that enhances the savory flavor of the broth. And then cook the stew in a moderate oven until the meat is super tender. Finally, add Spanish chorizo off heat to flavor the stew. And there you have it, from the test kitchen to your kitchen, a brand new recipe for Portuguese-style beef stew. Thanks for watching America's Test Kitchen. What'd you think?
Well, leave a comment and let us know which recipes you're excited to make, or you can just say hello.
You can find links to today's recipes and reviews in the video description.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
See you later.
I'll see you later.